Coming up on Your Money and Your Life, is property a good investment at high interest rates? We find out what's eating up the most energy in your home, how to grow your superannuation. Plus, in Kochie's Budget Challenge, we find some surprises lurking in Lina and Dan's bills. Hello and welcome to Your Money and Your Life, the show that's all about saving, spending, investing and enjoying your money. My mission is to help you make the very most of your money. First up today, Kochie's Budget Challenge. Every week, with the help of the team at Compare the Market, we show real Aussies how to find better deals on their biggest bills and hopefully claw back up to thousands of dollars. Let's meet Lina and Dan. Lina and Dan are hard-working grandparents from Adelaide. Lina's a medical receptionist. Dan's been running a painting and decorating business for 30 years. But recently, an accident put a dent in Dan's health bills. Let's see if we can help. Lina and Dan, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Tell us about yourself. Lina, first of all, tell us about Captain Calamity here. What's he done this time?
Oh, this time he fell off a ladder, just under 4 metres off a ladder, tore his meniscus, had a surgery. That wasn't successful. Then he had another surgery in June, total knee replacement. The next day in the shower, he fell and split everything open, emergency surgery again. So yes, his nickname is Captain Calamity for all his friends.
Dan, ladders and blokes just don't mix, do they?
Well, unfortunately, I'm a painter, so I need a ladder for my work. But this was a silly mistake.
Yeah. Has it put a strain on the finances?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Reduced income, well, no income whilst you're waiting for insurance to kick in, and medical expenses. You know, you go to hospital and there's all the out-of-pocket expenses that you have to cover. So that makes it a little bit hard sometimes, yes.
And Dan, at this stage of the cycle as well, you've got increasing energy costs, inflation. No, it's almost a perfect financial storm for you guys, isn't it?
It is a perfect financial storm,
yes,
yeah.
Definitely.
How are you coping with it?
We're coping. We don't go out very much anymore. I sold my nice ute, bought a cheaper car, so
smaller car.
Put a little bit of money in the bank that way. So yeah.
Just reducing where we can, just being careful, being more conscious of the cost of living and things that we can be careful with, and just the reality of the way life is for everybody.
What about your financial goals for the future? What have you got?
It'd be nice to be able to get to a point where we can get over this hurdle until the next one happens with Dan. And then, be able to help our kids with their mortgages.
Lina, hang on, get over this hurdle until the next one with Dan. Dan, that's a fair bit of pressure, isn't it?
It is a little bit of pressure on me, yeah.
36 years, I'm kind of used to it now. So you get over all the shock and then it's like, okay, this is Dan, get back to square one again.
Yeah, all right, so get over this hurdle. That's the short term. What's the long term?
Being in a position where we can help our kids more with mortgages, and they're, we've got grandchildren now, and maybe one day get him to Italy to see where his dad is born and just be able to enjoy things as we're getting older.
All right.
So, yes.
Well, that's a long-term plan. Let's get over the short-term hurdle.
Exactly.
We've gone through your bills.
Okay.
Let's go and sit down and see what we can find.
Oh, thank you. Okay, no worries.
Have you heard of impact investing? You might already be doing it. Impact investing is when you put your money into companies or super funds that have a strong social or environmental purpose. In Australia, impact investing hit around $30 billion in 2023, a 30% increase year on year. The same is happening with lending. A growing trend from the US that's picked up momentum here is impact lending, where a mortgage lender commits at least 10% of its profits to creating positive change for the community it serves. And it does not come at an additional cost to the borrower. Locally, Australia's first accredited impact lender is Wealth, who pledged to clean up the oceans one home loan at a time. They've supported Parlay for the Oceans, with cleaning up plastic pollution across more than 414,000 square metres of Australian beaches and coastline. So think about those causes you care about and see how your loans and investments can help you reach your money goals while still making a wider impact. After the break, is property a good investment at these high interest rates? Welcome back to Your Money and Your Life. Now, more than 2 million Aussies own an investment property, which can help generate extra income as well as capital growth. Now, investment properties made strong returns last year, with both capital appreciation and rental returns above 8%. That's according to CoreLogic. But for those eyeing their first investment property, is it still a good investment? To find out if the numbers still stack up, I'm joined by financial advisor and author of The Virgin Millionaire, Ben Nash. Ben, good to see you.
Good to be here.
Investment properties, do they still stack up for investors?
Well, look, the numbers tell us that they do, that even with higher interest rates like what we're seeing today, when you factor in the growth that you receive on an investment property, that you will generally make more than what it costs you. So roughly for, say, a $500,000 property, an investment property, it will cost you out of pocket after tax around $15,000 a year. But based on the historical growth rate of property in Australia, it's about 6.5%. So that same property would be appreciating in value by around $31,000 a year. And there's not a lot of investments where you can get that sort of return on your money.
So what are some of the benefits of owning an investment property?
Well, the two main benefits from owning an investment property are, as you touched on in the intro, the appreciation in value. So you buy a property and over time, so long as you choose a good one, it will increase in value. The other side of the coin is the rental income that you receive on the property. And so they combine to give you the total return, and that's essentially the financial upside that you get.
And what about some of the challenges of an investment property?
Well, the big thing with a property is that you need to fund the cash flow of doing that. If you're investing into a share portfolio and say you do a budget and you figure out that you've got $100 a week that you can invest that $100 this week, next week, the week after. But then if something changes, you can easily just turn off your investment. If you buy a property, you're committed to make that mortgage payment month on month on month. And so you need to ensure that you've got the money there to do that you've managed your cash flow, that you're clear on your budget, and that you're not going to end up under pressure if something changes in your circumstances or something like interest rates, which we've seen over the last little while.
A lot of people talk about the tax advantages of negative gearing.
Yes.
Is that the first thing that you should look at, drive you into an investment property, or is that just icing on the cake if it works out for you?
Look, in my opinion, you should never invest for tax purposes alone. So if an investment isn't a good investment without the tax benefits, then it was probably never a good investment to begin with. And there is always the potential when it comes to these sorts of tax rules and tax strategies that the rules can change. Now, I don't necessarily think they're going to, but you want to know when you've got an investment that it is going to perform well as an investment, not just with the tax kicker. That being said, the tax benefits from owning an investment property can be really significant because you're basically able to claim all of your interest costs as a tax deduction, along with all of the council rates, the strata rates, and the property rates, meaning that it is typically a lot cheaper for you to own a property as an investment rather than to own the same property as your own home, even if you have to pay rent somewhere else.
Even though negative means cash flow,
you're losing money.
You've got to keep putting money in.
That's
right. So you've got to have the cash flow there. And also, being a landlord and dealing with tenants isn't all that it's cracked up to be sometimes.
No, absolutely. And every property that you look after is an extra admin task for you to do. It's also something to consider when you're choosing an investment property as well, because different suburbs will have different renter characteristics in terms of how frequently you're getting turnover of your renters, what your sort of occupations the renters in your property might have. And so that can sometimes influence the decision that you make around where to buy a good property.
Yep. Absolutely. Go in, eyes wide open. Ben Nash, thanks for your time. Good to see you, mate. In this week's Word on the Street, we asked you what the biggest energy culprit is in your home.
The biggest energy culprit in my home is probably my fridge at the moment and the in-slab heating in wintertime.
The swimming pool.
We don't use it often enough.
No, we don't.
But you've got to run the filter every day.
Probably the AC, honestly, because it's really hot where I live, and so we have to use it, unfortunately, a lot there.
Air conditioning, definitely been a big drain on our cost of living, and definitely have to pull back on the usage and try to get by without using it.
Have we changed providers? Yes, we have, just recently. And I was getting sick and tired of the bills being so high, so I finally did something about it. We've moved.
No, I haven't considered switching providers.
I haven't, but I did see with my energy provider, I do get a discount if I do, so it's something I'd be open to considering.
Yeah, we've had a look around, but yeah, it just seems like they're all so super high. They're definitely a bit of a barrier to entry to see how we can compare.
After the break, tips on how to grow your superannuation. Welcome back to Your Money and Your Life. Now, when you're in your 20s, 30s and 40s, super is often the last thing on your mind. But the earlier you engage with your superannuation, the more rewards you'll reap later. Rebecca Harvey from Brighter Super is going to take us through some of the steps to set yourself up for success early. Rebecca, let's go age by age. What should people be thinking about in their 20s when it comes to super? Because retirement seems so far away.
That's true. But in your 20s, you first started getting super when you first started working. The exciting part about that is you've been contributing to super and it's been growing through compounding.
Yep.
The average Australian super balance grows 5 times the size between the ages of 25 and 34 and 45 and 54. And
Wow.
again, that's through the magic of compounding growth.
Right.
For those in their 20s, they should be considering just getting to understand about super. So understand how their money can be invested, the contribution types that they have, and the fees, because that all impacts performance and impacts how your super is going to grow in the long term.
Okay.
Then, if you're in your 20s, consider making some additional contributions. And you can do that through salary sacrifice. Even the smallest amount can make a big difference over time due to compounding, and that can really make a difference in the decades to come.
All right, let's go on to your 30s. This is a time when things start to get a little more serious, but it's a time when, for most people, their commitments are growing.
Absolutely. It's a critical time in your 30s to start thinking about your super. Some things you should be thinking about: making additional contributions into super. Also thinking, do I have any lost super out there? At Brighter Super, we have a super match tool that's available on our website to anyone where they can check if they've got any lost super, and then they can also consolidate through there as well. Or they can go to the MyGov app. Before consolidating, you need to consider if there's any tax or fee consequences or any loss of insurance cover. Then you need to go in and have a look at your own insurance within your super. Check what death and total and permanent disability cover you have, and income protection. You need to make sure that meets your personal needs and those of your family.
So, Rebecca, those in their 40s, starting to focus more on superannuation, how can they fast-track their super wealth for retirement?
Absolutely. In your 40s, you're probably a little bit more financially stable. It's a time where you could consider making some additional contributions into super through salary sacrifice. You do this by making the contribution pre-tax, which can help grow your super and reduce your taxable income. Then you might want to consider some high growth investment options. This could help you build your wealth for later. We recommend you speak to a financial advisor through your super fund, where they'll be able to review your investment profile. Finally, you may be able to take advantage of the government's superannuation schemes. For example, if you or your spouse are taking a career break, or you're not working or earning less, you may be able to put money into your spouse's super, claim a tax offset, while also growing their super at the same time.
So, Rebecca, a bit of general guidance for anyone who, no matter what their age, going through that super building stage.
I'd say just be mindful if you have multiple superannuation funds, you're probably having fees across those, and that can erode your super over time and affect the balance of your super for retirement. Also, at Brighter Super, we have account specialists that help members understand how much they need in retirement and also navigate superannuation to make the most of their super in the future.
Rebecca, you're a lifesaver. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
After the break, we return to Kochie's Budget Challenge to see just what's hiding in Lina and Dan's bills. Welcome back to Your Money and Your Life. Let's return to Adelaide couple Lina and Dan. They're hoping to find some money on the table after an expensive time with Dan's medical bills. The experts that compare the market have had a look at their bills, and here's what they've found. All right, Dan and Lina, let's get stuck into it and see if we can get over those short-term hurdles and keep Dan in one piece, I think, for the remainder of this interview.
Exactly.
Blimey. Dan's been telling me some of the accidents he's had. Got attacked by a possum at one stage, and that's only just the start of it. So I'm glad you've got good health insurance cover. That's all right. So let's go through some of the other bills, and just a reminder, these are thought starters for you to take on, because everyone's very much individual and you've got to find out what's best for you. Now, the energy bill. That's the big one. That is a
Huge.
whopper. $1,410
Yes.
in one hit.
Yes.
It's a lot of money, isn't it? Lina, you've been doing a bit of sleuthing as well. You've
Yes.
checked next door as well.
I've checked with the neighbours, and even one of our neighbours who's got a much larger house, double the size. 4 of them, there's like half of what we got.
Wow.
There's only 2 of us. So we did some investigating, turned off different appliances, and we discovered that our air conditioner is the culprit, because it's like a rogue air conditioner. When you have it on, the cost per day on my app was quite up there.
Right.
When we switched it off, in 2 days I was in credit.
You're also on a time of use plan for electricity
Yes.
as well.
Yes, and that I do try to stick to that. I do the washing and dishwasher stacking and clothes and everything, and I try to do it between those 10 to 4.
Because if you use it at peak time, you're paying a
Definitely.
premium, aren't you?
Yes.
So you're changing your lifestyle
doing
to
things.
reduce your energy
Yes,
needs.
definitely.
Especially with your solar too, and being able to use the power being generated during the daytime as well. So that's made a big difference for you.
Yes, definitely.
And there's one plan which has a lower peak energy charge and could reduce your bill by about $100 a quarter, potentially $400 a year.
That's good.
So keep all your sleuthing going and shifting your usage of energy. That's the most important part of it, but you can sort of tweak the plan as well.
Definitely.
Which
Thank
is good.
you.
Let's look at your car insurance now, and you're still paying around $1,635 a year cover for your van. We found a similar cover, different insurer, nearly half that amount, starting at $894.
Wow, that's amazing.
You also downsized to a more economical SUV that'll cost you less to fill up. The other thing that caught the team's attention was funeral insurance. You cover separate. Now, a lot of people do it. It's really important. Costing you about $50 a month, roughly $600 a year. You've really got to understand your insurance needs and what you need, including the benefit type and benefit amount, because your life insurance cover may cover
that as
funeral.
well.
But remember, when you cancel any insurance policy, you'll usually lose money on what you've already paid up front. So just weigh that up is really important. Now to your business and your public liability cover, which, Dan, apart from you, have you ever had a customer claim on this? No. Okay. Just you.
I can't claim on it either.
Doesn't cover him.
Bugger. You're currently paying $848 a year for the public liability. We compared policies and found some starting at $484. So that's $364 less a year on that. But because it's business cover, check with your accountant that it's right for the business or your bookkeeper or whatever.
Yes.
Really important to do that. So, in summary, when we looked at all the bills, there's about $1,600 in savings a year there. So that's a great start for your short-term hurdles. And compare the market as a big thank you for having us and allowing you to be a case study. Would like to kick in with $1,000 cash.
Oh my goodness.
For you as well.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you. Oh, that's so sweet.
So hopefully that will help with any gap on the hip replacement
Definitely.
as well, and get you on the track, back on the right track.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for having us.
Thank you. Oh.
That's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Your Money and Your Life. For all the latest money and investment news you need to know, go to ymyl.com.au, and while you're there, subscribe to my free email newsletter, which is delivered to your inbox every Friday. Thanks for joining us. Next week on Your Money and Your Life, where to find an affordable home, setting yourself up for life post-work, and we head to beautiful Yanchep, north of Perth, to help another family with Kochie's Budget Challenge.